Yeah. Hello, everyone. Is my voice audible, guys? In the last session, we have seen, right, how to access data from the Redux. So, have you guys remembered if you want to access the data from the Redux store, which hook we have to use?
Use select.
What is the hook name?
Use selector.
Use selector. And this hook is coming from which library? Is it coming from Redux library or React library or something else?
React Redux.
Yes, this hook is developed by a library called React-Redux. Okay. So right now we are dealing with three libraries. We are dealing with React library, we are dealing with Redux library, and we are dealing with React Redux library. So use the selector hook and use dispatch hook. This both the hooks we are getting from React-Redux library. Okay. So yesterday we have done this part. So now what I wanted to do is I want to have one more component called CT component. Okay. So let's try to create that CT component. So inside the SRC, under Redux, under components, here I will create one file ct.jsx. Now let me create a component. It's a CT component. So let me add h2 and simply I will say that CT component. After this h2, I just want here one input type equals to text, or here instead of CT, if you want, you can take drop down button as well. Select option. Here I can add multiple cities name. Select the city. Option like Hyderabad. One more option, Delhi. One more option here, Bangalore. One more option, Pune. Okay, just I have added some options here. And after that, I want one button, something like submit. If I save it, and now this component I want to render. So before that, let me just add the styles, whatever I have added here. So I will just copy this style tag. I will add here. Now this city component, I wanted to show exactly beside this name component here. Beside this, I want to show. So what I have to do for this? So import city component in your app.jsx. Now I wanted to show that city component exactly beside this name component. So right now, if I try to render that city component after the name component, it will come in the next line here. But here, instead of showing here, I want to show exactly beside. So what I need to do for that? Anybody? This component, I want to show here name component beside instead of showing after name component.
Display flex.
But where can I apply that display flex?
Onto class.
Okay, what we can do is we can wrap this both the components inside one container, and this container we can make as a display flex. We can make this as a display flex. I will simply say here class name sub container, sub app container. I will copy this in the app.css. I will add that and simply I will say display flex and justify content space evenly. I will add. Now if I go back here, now I got both the components one beside another. If you want, we can decrease the width little bit. If I said 1200 pixel, now it looks like this. Or maybe 800 pixel, it looks like this. Okay, so we got here name component, here we got city component. Now my requirement is if I'm adding like this name and clicking on submit, name is displayed here. And if I select any city, and again, if I click on submit, that city details also I want to display here. So I will go to my details component. Right now inside this details component, we are displaying the name of the user. So here, let me add just a label like name. After this paragraph, I want to display one more paragraph. And here I want to display city. I want to display city. So if I select here any city and click on submit, this city information we have to place here. So the flow will be same again. Now you have a city component here. From city component, we have to add the data inside the action object. We have to add the data inside the action object. Okay. So first, let's try to do up to here. So this is our component. This is our action object. So to add the data inside the action object, first of all, we have to create this action object as well. So let's come back here. Let me close all this. Now we are in the city component. Now, whenever I click on this button, I want to get the access of this city. I want to get the access of this city, whatever I have selected. So how to get the access of your city whenever we click on this button? How to get the value of this drop-down button? The moment I click on submit, I want this information. Whatever city I have selected, I want to access that value. So how can we access that value? So what we will do this time, we will try to maintain one state in our component. We will try to maintain one state in our component. And here we have a drop down button. Here we have one drop down button. We have one drop down button. Now, whenever I select any city in this drop down button, at that moment, what we wanted to do is that city value, whatever you have selected, that city value, we will try to store inside this state. We will try to store inside this state. So we will create one state And whenever user changes this option, that option we will try to update inside our state, So how to do that? For that, first of all, inside this CT component, we required a state. So we will try to create this state using use state. So import use state hook, get this state. So here I will say CT comma set CT equals to use state, initially empty string. Now on this, we will try to assign this on change event. Whenever on change event gets triggered, we will try to trigger one function here. So here simply I am defining one function, and inside that function, let's pass event object. And using this event object, let's try to get the value of current CT. So for that, I will call this set CT, and here inside this set CT, I will pass event dot target dot value. So whenever you pass event dot target dot value, you will get the value of your option tag. Now, whenever we click on this submit, let's call a function called getCT. Now let's define that function, const getCT. First, let's try to check whether we are able to get that CT information or not. So I'm just adding here alert, and I'm trying to print the value of CT. So now here, if I select any CT like Bangalore, and if I click on submit, I got here Bangalore. If I try to click add Pune, click on this, I got Pune. Delhi, I got here Delhi. I got here Delhi. Now what we have to do? This data we have to give to action object. Whatever data we have in the component, that data we have to store inside this action object. So what we are going to do now, we are going to add one new step inside this process. We are going to add one new step inside this process. What is that new step means? We will create here something called action creator. What we will do now, we will create here something called action creator. Action creator. Now, what is action creator? Action creator is a simple JavaScript function which returns action object. What is action creator? Action creator is a simple JavaScript function which returns action object. Which returns action object. So action creator is a simple JavaScript function which returns action object. So now after creating this action object, action creator, inside this action creator, we will have our action object. So from our component, we will call this action creator because action creator is a function. So from our component, we will call action creator. And to this action creator, we will pass our component data. Now action creator will receive our data as a argument, and that data it will store inside this action object. And this action creator is going to return action object. It will return action object to our component. It will return action object to our component. So what we are going to do, from our component, we will call action creator, and we will pass our component data as a argument to this action creator. Action creator will store that data inside its parameter, and this action creator will store that data again inside the action object, and it will return that action object to the component. It will return the action object to the component. So first, let's create one action creator. So to create this action creator, already under Redux folder, I have one more subfolder called actions. So inside this actions subfolder, I will create one file called here CT action creator, or simply I will add ctaction.js. ctaction.js. I have created one file. Now inside this file, I want to create one action creator. So what is action creator? Action creator is a simple JavaScript function. It's a simple JavaScript function. It's a simple JavaScript function which returns one action object. Action object means object which should have one mandatory property called type and whose value should be some unique string. Apart from this, it can have any number of other properties. So what I will do, I will add one more property called CT name, and whose value should come from component. So what I will do here, I will say simply CT value, and this CT value I will get from this parameter. Now what I did, I simply created one JavaScript function which returns one action object. And in this action object, one property is mandatory, that is type. Apart from that, I am adding one more property with the key CT name, and value will be coming from this parameter. Whatever we are going to store the data inside this parameter, that data will be assigned as a value to this property. Now this action creator function we have to call whenever we click on this button. Whenever we click on this button, we have to call that action creator function. So what we will do, from this file, we will export this function, because this function we wanted to call in the ct.jsx file. So we will export from here. And in our ct.jsx, first we will import that function. After importing, inside this getCT function, we will call that CT action creator function. Now this function is taking one parameter. It means whenever we are calling it, we have to pass one argument. So we will pass this CT information. Now what this action creator is going to do, it will store that CT information inside this parameter, and it returns one object, and inside that object we are assigning this parameter as a value to the second property. It means that CT value will be assigned to this second property, and this action creator will return this object, Whenever it is returning this object, I can hold that object in one variable. I can say CT action. Now, once you have action object, you have to call here dispatch function. Now, to call dispatch function, you should have that dispatch function. So how to get the dispatch function? For that, we have to import use dispatch hook from React Redux library. From React Redux, we have to import user dispatch. and simply call let dispatch equals to use dispatch. So using this use dispatch hook, we will get the dispatch function. Now once we have dispatch function, just call that dispatch function. And to this dispatch function, pass CT action. So like this, we can write this code in 2 steps, or you can write this both the lines in 1 step also. In 1 step means like this. You can directly call dispatch, and inside the dispatch, you can call that CT action creator, and you can pass your CT. So you can write like this 2 lines, or you can manage both the instructions in 1 line. So whenever you call dispatch, internally dispatch will call CT action creator. And into the CT action creator, we are passing CT information. Now what it returns? It returns one object. So anyways, dispatch requires action object only. And CT action creator returns action object only. So like this, you can write in 2 steps, or you can write like this in 1 step as well. So what we are doing, from our component, we are calling action creator and we are passing the data. Action creator is storing that data in the action object and it is returning that action object. Now, once we have action object from our component, we will call dispatch function. We are going to call dispatch function. And to that dispatch function, we will pass our action object. We will call dispatch function, and to this dispatch function, we are going to pass our action object. Now, what dispatch action will do? So, what dispatch function will do now? What dispatch function will do? Any remember to the flow?
We'll
Dispatch,
call use reducer function.
it will call reducer function. Okay, not use reducer. It calls reducer function. Now, your dispatch will call reducer function. Reducer function. It will call your reducer function. Now, already you have created one reducer, right? That reducer will be triggered. That reducer will be triggered. And whatever action object you have with dispatch, that action object, it will give to the reducer. Now, what reducer will do? It will store that action object in its second parameter. So whenever you call dispatch, dispatch will call reducer directly. So right now we have a reducer, right? Now this reducer function will be called. And whatever action object is coming, action object will come here. Now we have to manage this action object. We have to manage this part. So what we are going to do means here we have added this if block, right? Here we will write else if. We will write here one condition. If action dot type, if it is equals to CT. Action dot type is equals to CT. In that case, what we will do? We will first get this state. To this state, we will assign a new object first. A new object. Now, inside this new object, inside the new object, first we will copy all the properties of our existing object. So existing stored data will be stored inside this state. So from that, I want to copy the existing properties. So how to copy the existing properties of one object into another object? How can we do that? which concept we have to use? I have one object. In that, I want to copy the properties of another object. Already this part we have covered in JavaScript. Here we are going to use spread operator. So we have to use spread operator, and from which object we want to copy? From the state object. So simply write state. So all the properties of your Redux will be copied here. So we have only one property basically in our Redux store, that is name. So that name will be copied as it is. After that, I want to add a new property called CT. I want to add a new property called CT, and whose value should be action.ct name. That's it. And finally, we are returning this state. So now this new object will be updated inside your Redux. One more change what we can do is, here in initial data, we can simply add CT value as an empty string at initial phase. Done. Now we can go back to the details component. Here, whenever we are calling this useSelector hook, it returns your store data. Now in your store data, it contains one object in which you will have two properties, name also and CT also. So anyways, using data, we are accessing this name, data.name. Now here we have to access data.ct. Save it, come back here. Now here if I select name, and here if I simply say Delhi, click on submit, that Delhi will get updated here. Here if I change, the data will be here. Now see, here I lost that data. Here comes. Now why I am losing here data? See, here I am adding Kabir, I got submit. Now if I say Bangalore, I got here Bangalore. But the moment I update this, I am losing that seat. Why we are losing means, inside this my reducer, here whenever we are getting that name, whenever we are trying to update name, there we are taking this object, new object, and in that new object we are trying to add only name property. We don't have CT property. So to overcome this problem, what we can do is, before we update this name property, here we have to copy. We have to copy all the properties of your state first. Then update your name property. Now if you come back, now if I say here Rohan, submit, I got Rohan. If I say Pune, I got Pune. And here if I say something like Sneha and click on submit, I got Sneha. Now we have Pune as it is. Now if I want, I can change it to Hyderabad. Click on submit, I got Hyderabad. So what is reducer? Basically inside the reducer, we are going to write the code to manage our Redux store data. Redux store data. So initially inside our Redux store data, we are storing one object. And in that object, we have two properties. One is name property, whose value is empty string. And we have a CT property, whose value is also empty string. Now here we have two components. We have name component and we have CT component. We have CT component. Now, whenever you type something in the text box and click on the submit button, what we are doing, the data of this name component, this is name component, this is your CT component. So whenever you click on the submit button of name component, that name information we are updating exactly here. Whenever you click on submit button of your CT component, that CT information we are updating exactly here. So whenever I am trying to update the CT information here, I should not lose this name information. If I am trying to update this name, then I should not lose this CT information. So to not lose this name and CT information, we are using this spread operator. We are using here spread operator. We are using here spread operator. Yeah, understood this part? Let me know on the chat.
Sir, in spread operator, what data is copied? Can you explain?
Spread operator means it will just copy. For example, if you have like this two objects, where object 1, let's assume that we have one object. In this object, let's assume that we have two properties, name, comma, city. And here, let's assume we have some data like Raj, and here we have Pune. Now, suppose I have one more object, where object 2. Now, in this object, what I want to copy the properties of object 1. In object 1, whatever properties I have, these properties I want to copy here. As it is, I want to copy here. So if you want to copy the properties of object 1 into object 2, then we use spread operator. So how to use spread operator? For that, we add 3 dots. And from which object you want to copy, that object name we will add here. Now, whenever we do object 1, internally what happens? This properties, as it is, it will be copied here. As it is, it will be copied here. Okay. So that is what happens. So here I will create one JavaScript file, spread operator .js. So I have one JavaScript file. Now here I am creating one object where obj1, I have two properties, name, let's assume Rohan, and city, I have Pune. Let's create one more object, obj2. Now, right now, this is the empty object. Now, here, if I try to do console.log of obj2. So, let's see what it will print. So, for this, I will open the new terminal. And here, I will try to run this JavaScript file. So, node spread operator.js. If I click on enter, now here it is printing empty object. Because right now, obj2 is the empty. But inside obj2, I want to copy these properties as it is. So what we can do here is we can use spread operator. That's it. Now again, if I try to run now I got, see, name Rohan, city Pune as it is. But let's assume that inside this obj2, I want name should be updated. I want city value as it is, but I want name value to be updated. So what I will do, first I will copy this both the properties as it is. Then I will add this name property again, and here I will add the updated data. So in your object, if you have same property, here we are copying it. Copying it means basically this data is coming here as it is, like this. Now, whenever you have two properties with the same key name, in that case, your values will be overridden. Your values will be overridden. So this line These two lines are equivalent to that spread operator line. Now, if I try to run it, now see, name will change to Raj. CT will be full. So here also we are doing the same thing. So whenever this reducer is called, inside this state parameter, you will have a access of current state data, current store data. You will have access of current store data. So in current store, you will have name, you will have CT. So this is the first time initially your store is with this data. So inside your Redux store, initially this is the data. So whenever I start my application inside my Redux store, this will be the data. Now why this will be the data? Because whenever you start your application, your Redux is going to call this reducer. First time, your action will be undefined. So whenever action is undefined, whenever this function is called, first it will check the condition. This condition will be false. Then it will check this condition. This condition is also false. Then directly it will execute return state. So at this moment, what is the state value? At this moment, this is the state value. Inside the state, we are assigning the initial data. Initial data is nothing but this object. So that's why this object will go and store inside your Redux store. Object is stored in the Redux store. Now from second time, now whenever here I will add some data, for example, I am adding here Raj Verma and clicking on submit button. The moment I click on submit button, we are going to call action. Action will call dispatch. Dispatch will call this reducer. It will call this reducer. And what dispatch will do, whatever action object that dispatch has, that action object will be stored here. And second time, in this parameter, you will have the access of current store data. Whatever current store data you have, that data access you will have with this parameter. So in current store, right now, this is the data store. Now, whenever this function is called, first it will check the condition. Action.type equals to name. Now, this condition became true. The moment this condition became true, if block will execute. And in this if block, what we are doing, we are taking this parameter state, we are assigning a new object. And inside this object, we are copying the properties of state. Right now, what is the data we are storing in this state? Right now, inside this state, we have this data. This is the object. So what we are trying to do, this properties, as it is, we are trying to copy here. So this properties will be copied here as it is. Then what we are doing, we are adding one more new property called name. Now we have two properties with the same key name. So for first property, value is empty string. For second property, we are accessing the value from action.nameCom. Now that data will be updated here. Now once this code gets executed, then else if will not get executed, because if got executed, then it will return state. Whenever it is returning state, now inside the state, right now we have this object. So this object will go and store inside your Redux store. It will get modified in the Redux store. Now inside your Redux store, you will have the data like this. You will have Raj Verma. CT will be still empty only. Now if I click on here, Raj Verma, I will get that Raj Verma here. Now here I will select a CT and I will click on submit. Whenever I click on this, let's assume that after entire flow, reducer is called. Now CT component will store its action object inside this action parameter. And now inside this state, you will have the access of current Redux data. You will have the access of current Redux data. Now, inside the current Redux, we have this object. We have name property, CT property, and for the name property, value is Raj Verma. Now it will check this condition. This condition will become false. Then it will check else if condition. Here this condition became true. Again, what we are going to do, we are going to take this state parameter. We are going to assign new object and we are going to copy the previous properties of that previous object. So in this case, these two properties will be copied. Name with Rajvarma value and CT. Once those property gets copied, we are updating this CT property. How we are updating? By adding one more property called CT and whose value we are trying to access from the action object. Now here we have two properties with the same key, that is CT property. So in that case, this latest CT property will be updated in the object. Now your object got modified. Again, we are returning that state. So whenever we return state, now this object will be updated inside your Redux. Now in this object, you will have name Rajvarma as it is and CT value will be Pune. That is the reason here you will be able to access Raj and Pune. So let me just add here Rajvarma, click on submit. We got Rajvarma. And if I select Pune, click on submit, we got Pune. So Reducer is a place where we are going to manage our Redux data. Reducer is a place where we are going to manage our Redux data. So any component wants to store the data, then that component first need to pass the data to Reducer. Then Reducer can do some kind of operation and it can modify your Redux store. So from any component you want to store the data in the Redux, that data should come to the Reducer first. From Reducer only, that data will be stored in your Redux. And one note point you have to remember here is, we can create only one store, one Redux store for a application. That is the rule given by your Redux. You cannot create multiple Redux store. You have to create only one Redux store. For context API, we don't have that restrictions. We can create any number of context. But when it comes to Redux, we can create only one Redux store for a application. And whenever we refresh or reload application, Redux data will be removed or it will be lost. So whenever you reload your application, Redux will lose its data. It will come back to its initial data. So right now we have Rajvarma and Pune. The moment I refresh my application, you will see that we lost the data from the Redux. The moment we lost the data from the Redux, that data will not be displayed in this details component. So storing the data in the Redux is temporary for a particular session only. If you log out or if you refresh your application, the data of your Redux will be lost. So we cannot store the data in the Redux permanently. So Redux is just used for data management for a particular session. So this point, 2 points we have to remember. We can create only one Redux store for an application, and the moment we reload or refresh our application, we will lose our Redux data. So in your components, if you are displaying the data from the Redux, then that data will be lost. This is the Redux flow. now you have 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So practice well this Redux, because this Redux we are going to use inside our project. This Redux we are going to use inside our project. Yeah. Anyone, any doubts or any confusion? So before I start the project, I will take the sessions on Bootstrap, guys. Okay. Bootstrap is pending for our batch. So before we start with the project, I will explain, I will take some sessions on Bootstrap. I will finish Bootstrap. Then we will try to use Bootstrap in our React applications. We will try to use Bootstrap in our React applications, and we will try to build a project. Yeah. If you have any doubts, let me know, guys. If you don't have any doubts, yeah, you guys can drop. Let's join on Monday. You have 2 days of time. So just practice this Redux. If you get any kind of doubts, feel free to add in the WhatsApp, or you guys can ask on Monday as well.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Uh, um, yesterday's video is not present. I missed the class yesterday, so
Yeah, I think I will connect with admin because they are going to update the videos.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I think office will open by 9 a.m. So 9 a.m. or something, 10 a.m. So they are going to rectify that issue. Okay. Is it for same, guys? No one is able to access the video of last session.
Yes, sir. I am able to.
You are able to access?
Yeah.
I am able to.
Okay. Then there might be. Just connect with admin. They will help you if there is any issue. Okay. Okay. I cannot see. I cannot upload the video. I don't have even access for the videos. So that will be taken care by management people only. Okay. So we have some admin peoples, right, in our group. So you can just tag them. So they will just rectify the issue. I think some people are able to access and some people are not able to access. So they are going to rectify that problem.